Am I the a-hole for making my boyfriend eat fast food for a week? My boyfriend grew up in a house that valued outdated gender norms. The women were always responsible for cooking and cleaning, so he didn't learn how to do any of that for most of his life. That is, until he moved in with me after college. He's been good about a few things. He doesn't mind helping with dishes or handling the laundry. But the one thing I can't seem to get him to do is learn how to cook. The only thing he can do is microwave frozen meals. I've been trying to teach him the basics, but it seems like it goes through one ear and just comes out the other. He still can't turn on the oven or use the stove without help. The toaster is too complicated for him to use, he claims. Doesn't know how to boil eggs, cook rice, or even how to measure out ingredients using cups. I just don't understand why I can't grasp this, but it's fine with other things. Here's the part where I may be an a-hole. I went on a trip 2 weeks ago for work. I'm in charge of buying groceries. We have separate accounts. And I realized how expensive his frozen meals actually are. $3 to $4 each. I said, screw it, and bought the easiest ingredients I could find for a lot cheaper for him to cook on his own. He doesn't like leftovers, so me cooking ahead for him was out. Before I left, I sat him down once again and gave him a very long lesson on using the oven, toaster, and stove, as well as how to boil/scramble eggs, toast a piece of toast, boil rice/noodles, and heat up pasta sauce. I also taught him how to pan-fry things like onions and other veggies and how to tell when they were ready. In case he didn't want to cook both lunch and dinner, I also bought things to make salads and fixing for sandwiches. I come back a week later and he is angry. He claims I practically left him to starve and how I know he has trouble cooking. I retaliate, saying I showed him what to do, and I get a whole range of excuses. Setting the oven/stove temperature is too complicated. He cut his finger chopping onions and couldn't chop any until his cut healed. He only likes the salad kit, so everything is balanced. Apparently, he only ate sandwiches, canned goods, and fast food for a week. He thinks I'm a major a-hole for not telling him I'm not buying his frozen meals and leaving him alone to fend for himself. On one hand, I do think it was wrong of me to not tell him I didn't buy his meals. And as someone who grew up in a home pretty much only boiled hot dogs and veggies, and only properly learned how to cook after moving out, I do feel for him. But at the same time, after a few months of not getting the simplest concepts, I'm left feeling partially justified in my actions. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Info, how old are you two and how long have you been living together? He's 23 and I'm 25. We've been officially together for 2 years but only moved in with each other 2 months ago. Not the a-hole, but I say this. 2 months is not a lot of time for someone who never had to cook a day in his life to fully grasp it sometimes. He's an a-hole for his overreaction, but only you will know this. If he's actually trying to learn and failing or just refusing to learn. The way he's treating cooking is a lot different from the way he treated learning how to clean. Once he saw how I was washing the dishes or removing stubborn stains in clothes, he took over and asked me questions. With cooking, he doesn't ask any questions or step in to try. I really don't want to believe he's being malicious on purpose, but your comment makes me think otherwise. How did he eat before you all moved in together? Did he not want you to go on this trip without him? He could be trying to guilt you into not doing that again. This is the first time he's been away from home. His mother was always responsible for cooking for him and his family. He's never had a problem with me leaving before and just buying him what he wants. It's just that money's tight right now. Our rent went up and it seems like everything's getting more expensive. Info, why are you with some guy who can't manage to use a toaster? I'm much more concerned with the inability to measure something in a cup. Weaponized incompetence. Anyone can use a toaster, but boyfriend just wants OP to cook for him forever. OP, not the a-hole. You are not responsible for your boyfriend's food. Please consider if you want to be his free live-in cook. Also, nobody died from eating sandwiches for a week. Your boyfriend is manipulating you into feeling guilty. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for wanting to make my boyfriend homeless because of my lunch habits? Alex, male 30, and I, female 33, got together in late 2019 and recently decided to move in together. I asked for a trial run where we both kept our flats for a few months, so no one loses their place if it doesn't work out. He had issues with this, but I held firm that it was for everyone's benefit, and he eventually agreed. We decided he'd stay with me as my flat is bigger and closer to his work, then after a few months we'd look for a house. I work at home and he's now close enough to his office to come back for lunch. He initially assumed we'd be eating lunch together each day because I'm home, but I don't eat lunch and I don't take a break for it. My preference is to take smaller breaks when I want them and eat a snack around 3 p.m. A piece of fruit and a bag of nuts is my go-to. This has been an issue since he moved in. He walked in while I was on calls 2 days ago, running and loudly commented about it being lunchtime in the UK. I work for an international organization. I was furious, as it prompted an unnecessary and awkward conversation with my boss, who was concerned I was risking burnout. He agreed to not going forward, although my position is that during his lunch hour, we don't really need to make time to see each other at all, as he'll be back for the day in 5 hours. The issue is he then started insisting I need to eat breakfast and lunch, even if he's not included. For context, I gained some weight when I started working from home, and my current eating habit suits my schedule while keeping my weight where I want it. His claim is that I starve myself to log in as soon as I wake up, and that I'm too obsessed with work to take breaks. I've explained that my eating habits suit me, and I don't want to change them, but he uses my eating normally at a weekend as some kind of gotcha and won't accept what I'm saying. He brings it up daily. This is a problem, but not the problem. The problem is that this has been going on for nearly a month, and it just isn't the life for me. We sat down to talk this evening, and I said that I'm not enjoying living together, and it's too much too soon. So I'd like him to move back to his place this weekend. Turns out, he did not keep the flat. He gave it up straight away and moved his stuff to his mom's. His reasoning being he knew we'd be fine. Dear reader, we are not fine. And now he says I need to put the effort in to work through this and compromise, and that I'm too angry to talk. And me being a workaholic is going to cost us the relationship, so we will calm down and talk about it another time. My position is that him lying about his place is a deal breaker even if the rest wasn't. My best friend just had a baby and my mom is on holiday, so I have no one to tell me if I'm out of order. Guys, am I the a-hole? Edit. So I realized after posting this, and after he'd stormed out, that there's a bonus element here. We agreed that because we were both keeping our flats, he wouldn't contribute to my rent/bills because he still had all his normal outgoings. He has bought groceries a few times and took me out for a meal the first weekend he came, but other than that, he has been living for free. I am livid. Not the a-hole. If you're not happy, you're not happy. You can't seriously be expected to stay in a situation that makes you miserable. It's time to move on from this relationship. And he won't be homeless. He can stay at his mom's with the rest of his stuff. I guess what I haven't made clear is that the eating thing is the only real problem we have. So I might be the a-hole because I can't see why this would be happening if he wasn't concerned. The relationship was otherwise pretty perfect before this, and it feels super petty even if it has been driving me up the wall. It's just so weird. Except the eating thing is not the only real problem. 1, he lied to you about keeping his place. 2, he doesn't respect your boundaries. 3, he is trying to manipulate you into doing what he wants. 4, he is gaslighting you into believing he is right. And on your post, you say the fact that he lied about keeping his place is a deal breaker anyways. So why are you questioning yourself? Next story. Am I the a-hole for being upset at my husband for what he got me for my birthday? My 39th birthday was last week. Months ago, I was talking with my mom about a part of our state that I love to visit, and she mentioned that she has never been there. I told her we should go together sometime, and we started planning it. We ended up deciding on going there for my birthday. During the planning, we realized that my mom, my brother, and I had never been on a trip together, just the 3 of us, so we invited my brother too. My husband was fully supportive of us taking this trip, and would be staying home with our 3-year-old son and our dog. Before we left last week, my husband gave me the gifts he bought me for my birthday. He got me some comfy pajamas, a sun hat, and some good wine and cheese to bring with on a trip. Normally, I would be totally okay with that gift as we don't really splurge on birthday gifts anymore. But he had been talking about getting me a smartwatch and new luggage for my trip ever since we started planning it. He knows I can be kind of picky about gifts as I have exchanged some of the gifts he's got me in the past for different colors or options. But this time, I told him to just pick something out for me as I want those things for the trip. He offered instead to go shopping with me so that I could pick out exactly what I want. Because if I take them on a trip and don't like them, it's not likely I could return or exchange them. I thought that was a good idea. But life got busy, and before I knew it, it was the week of our trip and we hadn't had a chance to actually go shopping together. So the time comes for us to leave, and part of me was expecting my husband to surprise me with a new watch or weekend bag. But he didn't. I admit I was pretty disappointed that he didn't take the initiative to just get me those things on his own. I tried not to let it bother me during the trip, but it was always kind of in the back of my mind. After we got back, I mentioned to him that I was disappointed that he didn't get me to watch and bag like he said he would. He told me that he thought we had agreed to do it together, but I told him he knew how busy we were, and it wouldn't have been much effort for him to just do it on his own. He got offended and told me that I just spent thousands of dollars on a nice, relaxing trip with my family while I stayed home and took care of everything, and I'm complaining about a watch and a bag? I told him that he knew how much I was looking forward to having those items for my trip, and I'm just disappointed that he didn't realize that and take the opportunity to do something special for me. He apologized for ruining my trip, but I know it wasn't sincere and he's just telling me what he thinks I want to hear. I offered to go shopping with him sometime to pick them out and he told me to just do it myself. Now I feel like crap, and I know he's mad at me for being ungrateful for the things he did get me and for allowing me the opportunity to have a trip like that with my family. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole because you set up a damned if you do and damned if you don't scenario for your husband. The two of you had agreed to go together to pick out exactly what you want. Life got in the way of that plan. If he had done it on his own, there was just as high a likelihood you would have been upset it wasn't exactly the color, size, kind you wanted, or that he had done it without you despite your prior agreement. This was a no-win for your husband no matter what he did, so he chose the better option for not wasting a lot of money on something you may not like. This. Opie, how often is your husband walking on eggshells trying to meet your standards? He sounds exhausted and like he's already used to these no-win scenarios. Please check your behavior before you fall into a pattern of emotional abuse. Granted, maybe this is only a gift-giving issue and not typical, in which case I apologize for reading into it. But the fact that you admit he got you appropriate and thoughtful presents and still went after him because you didn't get exactly this one thing is not great. He sounds exhausted. I'm exhausted just reading about Opie. I can't imagine how her husband feels. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for getting mad at my wife because she didn't clean the house? The situation happened last Friday, but I'm still so upset about it. I, 28 male, and my wife, 27 female, have been married for 3 years now. She has always been a bit messy, but I'm not the cleanest person in the world, so it hasn't bothered me at all. We had recently welcomed our son 5 months ago, and he is pretty easy to handle. He does all the normal baby stuff, but is easier to calm down, so that's a plus. However, my wife has been suffering from PPD and has become very messy. When I was on paternity leave, I could help her more since she didn't want to go to therapy, and housework and baby work has led to me shouldering a bit more responsibility. But I love my wife and kids, so I don't mind. The issue is that since I was on leave, I missed my turn to host our monthly get-together. My department does this thing where every month one of us hosts the rest as a bonding experience. It is done at our respective houses where the host entertains the people, introduce their family and whatnot. I was supposed to host it, and I was thinking that I would reserve a spot at a restaurant instead. I told my wife my plan, and she insisted that I host it here. She has been to these get-together and loved them. I asked her if she would be okay, and she said she could handle it. After I placed the pre-orders for food and other necessities, I sat my wife down and asked her if she could manage to keep the house clean for that day. If not, I would hire housekeeping to do it. She said that I shouldn't waste unnecessary money and that we should keep it clean. I told her that I would leave early that day to get everything ready. Come to the day of the event and I'll leave work early and my house is a mess. Food stains on the wall, baby food on the floor, and my son is crying because of a dirty diaper. I was so angry. I changed his diaper and found my wife upstairs lying in her bed. I asked what was going on, and she said that she couldn't get out of bed. The mess was too big to clean, so I tried to get a reservation at a restaurant, but none of them had a space for such a big gathering. I had to end up canceling the event. My coworkers were really understanding, but it was still humiliating. I told her how upset I was because I asked her to do something that she agreed on, but she blamed the baby and started to cry. I didn't bother comforting her and have been sleeping on a couch since then. I might be wrong because I'm angry at a woman that had PPD, but she told me she was able to handle it. I feel stupid for believing that. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, multiple people have been asking as to why she isn't in therapy. It's because she doesn't want to go. She's in denial about her condition and doesn't think anything is wrong with her. I've brought up therapy, different types of treatment, and have even asked her best friend to talk to her for me. Whenever I ask, she insists that she's fine. She's shut down the first two options, and whenever I bring it up, it ends in a fight. When her best friend tried to help her, she messed up and said that I sent her. My wife exploded and cussed me out for trying to trick her. I'm getting tired. Any advice is welcome. My wife doesn't do anything because I've been doing all the housework since she gave birth. I cook, clean, sweep, do the dishes and laundry, mop, etc. I also take care of the kid when I come back from work. I'm also the sole breadwinner. I do everything because I love my wife and I want her to take a break. Probably will be shot down for this, but if her PPD is that bad that she's lying in bed while her baby is covered in a dirty nappy, she either needs serious help or someone needs to be with the baby to make sure he's clean and fed and safe. I agree with this. That is not okay. No a-holes here. Sort of. Listen, your wife needs help and understanding. When you ask her, she thought she could handle it. The problem is that one moment you can, the next you can't. Prognosticating is impossible. So give her a break. And give yourself a break too. Your coworkers understand. It's not a humiliation. Stuff happens. Suggestion? Get that housekeeper thing going. Even once a week or every other week would take pressure off both of you. Yes, she thought she could handle it. Someone with depression, I think I can do something but end up not getting it done because the depression overwhelmed me. She wants to be back to her normal self. She needs help, not freezing her out. Am I the a-hole for calling my brother a disgusting gross man at his daughter's birthday party? My brother Paul and I are not close at all. We have very different worldviews and have incompatible personalities. I can tolerate him, but I would never consider him a friend. He's been married to Lisa for 1 or 2 years now, and they have a beautiful daughter together. My girlfriend Amy and I were invited to celebrate my niece's first birthday. Most of my family was invited, and it would be the first time I would have seen them all together as I only see my family once or twice a year with a few exceptions. Amy and I arrived a little earlier than we were supposed to, and instead of waiting in the car, we decided to go in. The first thing I noticed is how calm my brother seemed to be in contrast to Lisa, who was frantically running up and down. When he saw Amy, he immediately handed the baby over to her and got a beer to sit down and watch TV. Lisa was clearly struggling, and he was content with a beer and Netflix. I don't want to be rude, and maybe this was a one-time thing, but it bothered me how uninvolved he was. He handed Amy a baby with a full diaper with vomit on its clothes. Eventually, Amy, Lisa, and I finished everything. The house was clean, the food was ready, and Lisa looked ready to host a big gathering. We all paid zero attention to Paul. When my family arrived, I thought everything was going well. I avoided Paul and enjoyed speaking to my family. After we sat down to eat, Paul approached me, drunk, thanking me for helping Lisa. I didn't want to be around him for long and moved out of his way, but he was very persistent. I was ignoring him, but he started talking about Amy. Protect Amy like a real man, or you've got a great woman by your side. You know what? Whatever. It was slightly odd and mildly uncomfortable, but I was able to brush it away. Amy was trying to sober him up a little bit before the cake cutting, so she was selectively hearing. We tried to get him to stop talking and drink water. However, he had a lot to say about Lisa. He was complaining about how pregnancy ruined Lisa's body and how a baby ruined his life. Amy and I kept looking at each other awkwardly, and we were soon going to leave him be. We didn't leave the conversation soon enough. He began complaining to be about his intimate life, or lack thereof, and commenting on how desperately he wanted to sleep with someone fit like Amy. This made both of us extremely uncomfortable. Amy left, quickly apologizing to Lisa while I told him that he was a disgusting, gross man who needs some freaking help, before I left. Apparently, this made him super upset and he started wailing at a party. Paul told everyone that the reason he was crying was because of my words to him. He got over it quickly, but a few people told me I was wrong to shame a father on his child's birthday. I could have probably left without making a statement. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Wrong to shame a father on his child's birthday. Father. Lol. Okay. Your brother could not be bothered to help his wife prepared for his child's party. One-time thing or not, that is not acceptable. He then handed his baby over to the first available woman to deal with the diaper and a soiled clothing. During his child's birthday party, he made remarks about how said child ruined his life, ruined his wife's body, and compared her now ruined body to someone he finds more attractive whom he'd prefer to be intimate with. his brother's girlfriend to put a cherry on top. You are not the a-hole, and he should be ashamed of himself. I hope Lisa figures out how to leave him. No, he barely even acknowledged the both of us. My girlfriend went to go say hi to him, and he just handed her the baby like it was a piece of plastic. That's really awful. I really do hope Lisa can find her way out of this relationship with him. Your brother already resents a 1-year-old baby, and probably Lisa for doing it to him. They're both better off without him around. Not the a-hole. You shamed an unsupportive misogynist at a child's birthday party. You should reach out to Lisa to see how she's doing. Is she okay with him talking about her like that? If she wants some help putting his stuff in boxes, that sounds like something to rally the people who care about Lisa over. Amy told Lisa all the terrible things he said about her. Lisa didn't seem too upset, though it was said over a phone call, so I can't properly gauge her reaction. She sighed and quickly changed the subject. Maybe she's heard it before, or maybe she doesn't want to dwell on it. I'm not sure. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for ruining my sister's vacation? I'm 22 years old. My sister is 26 and has 2 children, a 2-month-old and a 2-year-old. I always thought she should not have gotten another child because she can barely take care of the other one, and most of the time asks other people to take care of them because she can't do it alone. Our mom is one of the people who goes and helps a lot. Definitely now that the baby's born. Now for the vacation part. I booked a vacation to the beach a year ago and it was quite expensive. But this is something I really wanted, so I saved up for it. I asked our mom if she wanted to go with me. She said yes. I booked and paid for 2 people. A month before we left for the vacation, my mom said my sister was also coming with us because her boyfriend was away that same week on a bike vacation. There wasn't really a discussion about it. They just announced it. Afterwards, I went to our mom and said my concerns about how I was afraid I would have no time for myself, and I would have to babysit all the time. Something about me? I'm highly sensitive and I get overwhelmed very quickly by constant loud noises, and as an introvert, being around people mentally drained me to the point I can't do anything anymore but just sleep. They know this. We're now 4 days into the vacation and everything I feared came true. I have to constantly keep the 2-year-old busy while my mom and sister are on their phone or taking care of the baby. Even when I go somewhere else to be alone for a second, like lay on my bed or something, he follows and keeps asking to play. I love him, but it gets too much for me. The only way they leave me alone is when I'm sleeping, so I have been doing that a lot, which means that I wasn't able to do anything what I wanted. Now, my sister told me today that I'm ruining her vacation because I make long face all the time. I don't know if that's an English expression, but in Dutch it means I'm unhappy all the time. I was so annoyed. I told her, "What do you mean ruining your vacation? I paid for it. This is my vacation." She began yelling and said that just because I paid for everything doesn't mean I can sit here and ruin it for her. I said, "You invited yourself. I didn't ask you to be here," and said that they promised I would not have to babysit. She began yelling louder and said I haven't touched the baby while we were here. That's a lie. I have given him his bottle a few times and held him while he slept and cried plenty of times. I told her who has been keeping the 2-year-old busy. She got angrier and said, "Isn't that normal for you to want to play with a 2-year-old as his aunt?" Our mom was looking at me like I've kicked the children. Because how could I complain about playing with my own nephew? They stormed out and yelled that there's really something wrong with me, and I should think about what I said. I've been crying nonstop and have no clue what to do anymore. They don't talk to me, and I'm stuck here with them until Friday. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your sister sucks. Also, the mother sucks. I am sure she was worried about leaving her older daughter at home with 2 children when both she and the father would be away. But it's not fair to ruin her younger daughter's vacation, which she paid for, by inviting the sister along. Not the a-hole. Yes. Mom threw her younger daughter under the bus to help out the older. None of this is fair. Wish people would stop having children when they cannot take care of them. Gosh, how difficult is that? I'm like Opie exactly. I cannot be around too many people and too much stimulation. Next time, just do by yourself. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your sister took advantage and your mom didn't care about you or your feelings. Go off on your own. Enjoy the rest of your holiday. When you get back, set boundaries and leave them to it. Your sister's kids are not your responsibility. Next time, go away on your own or go with a friend or a solo traveler's group. Neither your mom or your sister have thought about you or your feelings. It's all about your sister, her needs, and her kids. They'll probably call you an a-hole, but they're so self-absorbed. Your mom playing granny and reliving being a mom, and your sister just being herself by the sounds of it. Just keep your boundaries. They will run to you again eventually for help, so make sure you say no. Not the a-hole. I know it's hard when you are the youngest and one perp is your parent, but you are handling yourself fine. If you need help, show them this post. Tell them people around the world think that they are a-holes who have ruined your vacation and they need to shape up or go home. You love them, but not their entitlement. This was your vacation and your mom is your guest. Your sister was uninvited. They owe you an apology each and some consideration. Go and do the things you want, and they can stay in the hotel room. If they go to the beach, they need to assign one of themselves to the baby and one to the nephew. Next story. Am I the a-hole for being rude to my dad after he excluded me from a family vacation? I, 15 female, live with my mom, however, have always maintained a close relationship with my dad, 49 male. 3 years ago, he began dating a woman, 38 female, who has 2 kids, 11 male and 7 male. I've never liked this woman or her children, but have always tried to be civil with them for the sake of my dad's happiness. Since they began dating, they have split up about 3 or 4 times. And each time they break up, my dad insists he hates her and that he won't get back together with her. But time and time again, I discover that they are back together. The most recent time they split was due to the fact that she doesn't try to include me in anything, and has never in 3 years tried to make an effort with me. But a little over a month ago, my dad reveals to me that they are going to a festival together, just the 2 of them, as they had won the tickets when they were still together and they were non-refundable. Fine, whatever, cool. I come to find from social media that her 2 children have also gone on the trip. So I called my dad and was upset that he didn't tell me that they were going to. And he continues to tell me that he did not tell me they were coming. But he realizes that he didn't tell me they were either. The next week, he accidentally lets slip that they are in fact back together. And it was in fact a family holiday. Last week, my dad told me that he would be joining his girlfriend, her kids, and a few other families they know on a vacation to Egypt. I asked him how this came to be, and he told me that the trip was already booked. And now that he and his girlfriend were back together, they told him that he could join them as there was enough space in the room they had booked. This seems like yet another lie, as he would have to book a plane ticket, get a larger room, and tell the hotel that he was coming to, among other things. And he can't just be tagging along. It doesn't work like that. I feel as though him telling me he was just tagging along as there was 1 extra space is just an excuse as to why he won't bring me with them. I've been visibly upset and icing him out for the past week, but despite a few side eyes from him, he hasn't mentioned it. I feel justified in being angry at my dad, but my nan thinks I am being a brat by being rude when he has done nothing wrong. Am I the a-hole? For context, I have never been on vacation with my dad anywhere, and I'm just upset that he is taking someone else's children on this experience before he has me. Edit. I don't make a big issue of not liking his girlfriend or the kids, but it's just known that they aren't my favorite people in the world. The last time I saw the kids, we actually got on quite well. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. People often get new families and forget they can't treat their first kids like crap. It's quite sad. The dad has a child and is close to him and loves him. Why would you push Opie away to be for a crappy girlfriend in what is clearly a harmful relationship? Not the a-hole. Sorry that he is excluding you. Please understand that he has this condition where he doesn't have a spine. Symptoms can include weakness, cowardice, and no resolve. That's why he fails to firmly to include you and or defend you from his malignant mess that's called girlfriend. In all seriousness, you have so much ahead of you, and he will regret not being a father to you, especially when you start hitting life's milestones. He's taking you for granted when you matter. I misread the condition. I thought he was simply not thinking with his head and only worried about getting laid. Not the a-hole. Your father's lying to you, and not even lying well. I'm sorry that he has capitulated to his girlfriend, and basically evades you being in his life in a meaningful way. This will likely result in you growing your resentment and eventually going no contact with him. In any case, I feel sad for your situation. All the more so because your dad is gutless and cannot even bother to tell you the truth. What an awful way to find out that some adults suck. Not the a-hole. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not returning my boyfriend's calls while he was on vacation? Plus little update. My boyfriend's family had their big family reunion last month. They really do it up big and have lots of events and activities. Stuff like going to amusement park, renting boats and jet skis, going to concerts, stuff like that. I was invited and was looking forward to going for well over a year. My boyfriend and I had talked about it numerous times. He had told me it started August 5th and would probably be about a week, but he wasn't sure what day we would be heading back. On July 19th, I asked him if he knew the final date so I could finalize the plans with our pet sitter. He told me it had been moved up to the 25th of July. On the 22nd, I told him I was having trouble finding a pet sitter, so I don't think I could go. On the 23rd, one of the people I put feelers out to got back to me and we had coverage. I told my boyfriend that I was able to find someone last minute. He told me that since I wasn't going, he changed his plans. And instead of driving, his parents bought him a plane ticket. The plane tickets were upwards of $800 since they were so close to the departure date, which was definitely way out of budget. So he went on his vacation and I stayed home. We had been fighting a lot about the situation. Him not telling me the dates promptly, him changing the plans without talking to me about it, etc. I told him that I was upset I didn't get to go, and that his lack of planning and communication only had negative consequences for me. He attempted to call/text/FaceTime me numerous times while he was gone, but I never picked up or called back, and left all the messages on read. When he got back, he was really upset and called me an a-hole. He said that his family kept asking about me and wanted to say hi. He said that he really missed me, and since we had never spent that long apart before, it was really upsetting that I iced him out. He said that I was being childish for giving him the silent treatment. Things are still testy between us, but am I the a-hole for not talking to him while he was gone? Not the a-hole. If he really wanted you there, he would not have made it impossible for you to go. Well said. Reading this post, it's hard to believe that they are even dating. Seeing how he treated Opie in this situation, I wouldn't want to be with someone like that. Not the a-hole. You jumped through hoops trying to make this work and find a pet sitter. And he didn't even have the courtesy to give you a heads up that the dates changed 10 days earlier? Down to the wire, he knew you were struggling to make it work and left without you. He actually knew about the date change back in the end of May/beginning of June. That's even more frustrating, Opie. Holy crap. If I were in your shoes, I'd seriously be weighing the pros and cons of this relationship and end up dumping him. I don't like that he's playing victim here and calling you an a-hole and calling your behavior childish. He's taking no accountability at all. To be honest, I have been. That was a big part of why I didn't want to talk to him. Like, I really do love the guy, and just seeing his face and hearing his voice makes me melt. I wanted to think about things without his influence for a while. The other part was definitely a petty. Well, he doesn't want to communicate with me about things. Why should I? Little update. Well, guys, it's over. He still doesn't get that I am upset about the lack of communication and planning on his part. He is now saying I'm just trying to keep him from seeing his family. So now he can move back to the state they live in and he can see them all the time. I'm pretty heartbroken, but that's that, I guess. Am I the a-hole for refusing to apologize to my brother? I, 38 female, was in a horrible relationship and have a 1-year-old son. I have a restraining order against my ex, and unless my ex takes me to court, he can't see his kid. My family know most of what happened, and they say they're on my side. I just got out of the refuge and into my own flat with my son, and ex doesn't know where we live. My brother, 40 male, was helping me move some stuff, and so we talked, and he kept asking, so, how does ex see his kid? Me, being dumb and not putting 2 + 2 together, told him there's a form, it's free, and he needs to take me to court. If you worked out what my brother did next, yay, have a cookie, cause I was so blindsided that a family member would tell my ex exactly what form and what to do. I did double check that he didn't give my address, and the reply wasn't present, shaming me really for checking on our safety. Also triggered panic attacks and PTSD. So I sent my brother a message the next day explaining how hurt and angry I was, asking why he did that. First he tried to gaslight me saying I asked him, then changed to, a kid needs a dad. I flipped out and said for the countless time that he pulled a knife on me and was answered that it was only against me and not my child, the argument's not the knife, that a baby doesn't disappear because there's an argument. The same ex that made social services want to put my baby in care, making me flee my home and live in a refuge 6 months, he says needs to be in a baby's life. Now he's not talking to me apparently, and my mom wants me to apologize to him because I yelled at him in text. I honestly want nothing to do with him. If that's his idea of support, I don't want it. But on the off chance I'm an a-hole for not apologizing, please let me know. P.S. This post will be shared with all relevant members as my words, tears, and breath are being wasted. And I keep being blamed for reacting to something that affects mine and my son's whole life. I get things muddled in my head sometimes, so if it doesn't make sense, also let me know. Also, yes, it is a breach in the non-molestation because it did it through someone else. I've collected a few breaches and reported them all, but because this one is through my brother, I bet 100% know that he will not admit / lie or whatever. Not to get involved now. I just got a letter from court. Not the a-hole. Your brother is a literal danger to you and your child and should be cut out of your life immediately. Shame on him for failing to protect his sister and nephew. What a disappointing garbage human. Thank you. I feel like I'm going mad as I'm being repeatedly told to apologize. I don't need any of these people really. I would not only not apologize, but I would cut your brother out of your life. He is a danger to you and your children by supplying information to your abusive ex. Tell your mother you will cut her off too if she continues to take his side. You need to take a stand, OB. Otherwise, your ex will end up on your doorstep one day. The brother is also a whiny, bratty baby who runs to tell mommy that his sister shouted at him through text. And mommy is trying to save his hurt feelings by making his sister apologize, even though he has now put her life and her son's life at risk. Grow up, brother. You're a brat. If anything happens to your sister, I hope you get charged as an accessory to the crime. Your brother violated your trust and put you and your child in danger. If anything, he should apologize to you for staying in touch with your horrible ex and knowing that is dangerous, telling him how to get visitation with his child. Now you know you can't trust your brother not to have your best interests at heart. You should go low contact with him, not a-hole. The mother is also toxic and should be cut out, and any other family members that will take their side, including her dad if he's still married to the mom. They are willing to let OP croak in order for this man to have access to his kid, that he is also a danger to. It's messed up. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my niece keep her old bedroom? My brother and his family had to move to a different city because of their son's medical needs. I actually owned a house they live in, but I didn't need that much space at the time I inherited it, so I let my brother's family live there. Since they were moving, my wife and I thought now would be a good time to move into the house ourselves. My brother's teenage daughter really did not want to move and go to a different school, so she asked instead to stay with us. We talked about it and agreed to it, so long as she didn't get into trouble and helped around the house. We also told her she would have to use the office downstairs as a bedroom instead of keeping her upstairs bedroom. There are only 3 bedrooms upstairs. My wife and I would be using the master and the other 2 bedrooms would be for our 2 kids, female 8 and male 4. She was not happy about it because the office is not as good as the upstairs bedrooms, which truthfully is true. It is smaller and does not have an attached bathroom like the bedrooms upstairs. It also has less natural sunlight, so it can feel a little like a dungeon. It also doesn't have a regular door. It has these panel shutter-like doors which we can add a latch to, but my niece has less private and secure. The thing is, our daughter has been wanting her own bedroom for a while now. She has shared a bedroom with her younger brother her whole life, and she is sick of it. When we had brought up this move to her, we had already promised she would get her own room. Given their ages, it makes more sense for them to have the bedrooms upstairs close to us, rather than farther away downstairs in the office by themselves. My niece, brother and sister-in-law, however, think it's mean to banish their daughter to the downstairs office when she's already dealing with enough change. They think that our kids can continue to share a bedroom because they're still young enough, and that it doesn't matter. Edit: a lot of people are mistaking the office room as being in the basement. It is not. Also, it does have windows. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your children are still young enough to need to be on the same floor as you anyway, for safety and comfort reasons. Plus, it's your house. She can go with her parents instead. Exactly this. Not a-hole. OP didn't have to agree to their niece staying with them, especially when they had already promised separate rooms for their own kids. The parents are being unreasonable by thinking that her daughter just has to have everything she wants in this situation. Stay in the home and same school, but not have to adjust to the family that actually lives here. This is spot on. If I was a teen that wanted to stay at my same school with my friends, I would sleep in the dang basement and be happy about it. Jeez, I dream of a world without entitlement. Not the a-hole. It was kind of you to allow your niece to stay. Caring for an additional child isn't easy. Especially a teenager. Especially an entitled teenager. Not the a-hole. Wow, even your brother and his wife are saying you're the a-hole? After you let them continue to live in your house even though you have 2 kids? And you are only taking the house because they need to move. And still you generously offer your niece a room? It's probably time to let them fend for themselves. I didn't even consider that a larger family was in a smaller house, while they owned a larger one. My brother's family is actually larger than mine. They have 3 kids and we have 2. They pay rent just to cover maintenance, HOA fees, and taxes, and it's been around 16 years or so now. I don't know what they were expecting when they first planned to move, but I have made it clear to them that we would be living in the house permanently. Now for the mini update. After going through the comments together, my wife and I have realized that it is beyond our family's emotional and financial resources to have our niece live with us harmoniously. So I will be telling them that we are rescinding the offer. Last story. Am I the a-hole for getting mad at my boyfriend for not giving me money? My boyfriend and I have lived together for over a year now, but we moved into our own apartment 6 months ago. For 6 months, I paid almost all of the bills, rent, groceries, and extra expenses. I had a savings that is now gone, and I went into credit card debt. He was going through some health issues at a time, and although it hurt to watch my money go away, I knew it was what we had to do. It's just life, and relationships can't always be 50-50. He recently got a settlement that was almost $90,000, and he will be receiving more money. While we waited for the money to deposit, we had a conversation. I felt that I had contributed so much for a while, and it would help me out a lot if he gave me $4,000. I could pay my debt off and get my car fixed. He agreed to this. The next thing I know, he's buying a brand new car he didn't need. I thought it was dumb and expressed it, but I let him know it was his money and he could do what he wanted with it. He had a nice car that wasn't old, and I felt that he should have just paid that off. He rushed to do everything because he was impatient, so right now he has 2 cars he's paying for. There's a whole backstory as to why this happened. It would just be too much to explain. So now he's worried about money all of a sudden, even though he still has $60,000 left. This is where we keep getting into arguments. Because we had discussed me getting money, I had made plans with what I was going to do with it. I made 2 large payments on my credit cards because I assumed he was giving it to me that week. I try to bring up when he will transfer me the money, and his immediate reaction is frustration. We have an argument about it. I was upset because I felt embarrassed about it. It's embarrassing basically begging for money, and I was mad that we had talked about something, and now it seems like he doesn't want to do it. I tell him that if it's a problem for him, to just forget it. I don't want to fight, but he ended up feeling bad and he sent me $1,000. I use all of that to pay down 2 of my cards. I tell him I want to sit down and talk about it again because we aren't understanding one another, and he tells me that he wants to lower the amount we agreed on since the stuff with his car's going on. I was obviously kind of upset because I wanted to use that money to fix my car and pay down my debt. So he says to pick what I want. Either he will fix my car for me, or I take $1,500. I tell him I want to take the $1,500 because my goal was to pay my debt down. If I did that, it would take away how much money I'm paying monthly. Then I can save up to get my car fixed. I work from home, so I don't drive around much, and I can just take his car until I get mine fixed. We both seemed happy with that and moved on, until his parents came to town. His new car is a 2-seater, so they asked if we could take my car. I told them that I don't have AC. My brakes are squealing, my tires are bald, and my engine mount is really loud. So I try not to drive it unless I have to. They were horrified by this. And even though I begged them not to, they took my car to the mechanic to get new tires that day. I have no idea what his parents said to him, but he called that mechanic, got estimates, and is getting everything fixed on my car. This all happened so fast that I didn't know how to process it. I felt deeply embarrassed by his parents paying that much money to help me out. I was also confused about my car because him and I had made a deal on what we are going to do. I asked to talk to him again, and I said I was uncomfortable with what his parents did because I don't even know how I could properly thank them. He said not to worry about it because they love me and wanted me to be safe. Then I asked if I would still be getting the $1,500, and he lost it. We had a huge fight. He said, "No, you were getting your car fixed." I said, "Well, that's not what we agreed on." He gets mad and says I'm being ungrateful, and it's hurting his feelings. I said, "Then you are misunderstanding what I'm saying. Of course I'm grateful to have a working vehicle again. Having no AC in the summer sucks, and I've felt unsafe in my car. What I am mad about is that we have sat down multiple times now, and you've either ignored me or seem irritated that you have to give me money." We just kept bickering those 2 points back and forth over and over again. Then he says, "I have given you so much money already. What did you do with the $1,000 I gave you?" I snapped and said paid off the credit cards and went to debt in buying us groceries, so he had food to eat. Then he says, "Well, your car was important and needed to be fixed. We couldn't just have one vehicle." I said, "You know I don't drive a lot since I work from home." I get that at this point I was probably being petty, but I said, "Fine, I don't want another dime from you. But don't expect me to do anything with you. No dinners, going out to eat, no going out with your friends to the bar, nothing. Because I can't afford to keep up with your lifestyle. I will be paying this freaking debt off." He gets mad at me and says I'm throwing that in his face to be petty, because I know he would pay for me if we went out. I say I don't want it because he obviously has an issue with it, and I refuse to beg or have it thrown in my face. He then tries to say he is now paying all of the rent and I can't expect him to pay everything. I feel like that's BS, and I feel like our arrangement is fair. He pays all of the rent while I pay for Wi-Fi, electricity, and all of our groceries. That's a lot of money, especially the groceries. By the end of the argument, I was feeling guilty because I'm fighting with someone over feeling like they owe me money, and we left the argument somewhat unsolved. If we both are getting too heated, we try to acknowledge it so we can take time to talk away from it, think about it, and come together again. I feel like an a-hole because he went through hell to even get that money. We aren't married, so it's not my money, and he has already done a lot by giving me $1,000 and is paying to get my car fixed. But when I sit and think about it, I get mad because I only asked for $4,000 out of almost $90,000. I just can't seem to understand his side. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Leave him before he sucks you dry. He's taking advantage of your pride by making you bring it up again and again and then berating you. There is so much wrong here. Not the a-hole. He was quiet when he was the receiver, taking and taking. And I'm sure he would have been upset with you if you would have said no about anything when he was the taker. And now that is his chance to reciprocate, he is showing you his true colors. The resentment you're feeling will keep building every time you're forced to be the giver and he refuses to give or be there for you when you really need it. His parents paid to get your car fixed, so that gives him the out of the money he owes you? He's the a-hole. I don't understand. If he has money in savings, why were you paying all the bills for 6 months? I would be petty and go to his parents with us. Be extremely thankful for them to fixing your car and just let it slip that you hope their son will be just as gracious as to honor their agreement on payment. Not the a-hole, OB. You have been too sweet in this regard. Not the a-hole, because this dude literally owes you money. He was happy to use you when he was hurting for cash, but now that he's flushed, he's painting you as some sort of gold digger and refusing to acknowledge the cash you put up to float him for 6 months. This guy is massively selfish, is fundamentally dishonest, and does not care about you. I would strongly suggest that you sit down, go through your bills from the 6-month period you confronted him, account for every cent, and then send him an invoice, minus the payments he's made so far. Make that the last conversation that you have about money, because after he pays it, you should break up. Also, when, not if, he refuses to pay what he owes and tries to start another argument about it or to guilt/gaslight you into thinking it's you being petty or money grabbing, walk away and end it right there. Then take him to the small claims court to recover the money he owes you. Believe me, OP, if you keep letting this go, it will become a pattern for him for the entirety of your relationship. He owes you money, and you're in debt because of him. I know you felt it necessary at the time, but now he's got the funds to repay you. He is refusing to do so.